Cool, I'm gonna get started. So, in today's February Newsfeed review, we're chatting about some of the major things that happened on social last month, including how Facebook banned, then unbanned news in Australia, to new app updates, and of course, a few interesting social media campaigns we saw from some well-known food brands. But before we get started in today's episode, it's time for our team question. Guys, what was your highlight of last month? Ellie, I'm going to throw it to you to start with. Anything exciting happen in February?
It was my mum's birthday in February, so me and my sister, we clubbed together to get her an electric guitar. So she's
That
so
is
cute.
so cool.
I know. She plays like acoustic guitar, and then she wanted to learn electric, so we got her it. She's jamming away all the time now. Little rock star.
Gosh.
So that was
That
nice.
is so cool. I think my February highlight was that the UK season of Drag Race, the US season of Drag Race, and One Division are all out. So it's like Thursday, Friday, Saturday nights are sorted with streaming TV series. That's been pretty good. Laura, what about you?
I think my highlight has to be the kind of the roadmap, if you like, out of lockdown. I think I've been waiting for that for so long. Just some pointers to look forward to coming out of lockdown. I think it's kind of given me a little bit of hope. That's definitely a highlight.
That's so true. What do you guys think? Is it like making you guys excited? Because I feel a bit like sad knowing that we have to wait until June, but I know some people are kind of like happy to at least have the next steps in line.
I feel the same as you, yeah. It's like hoping it'd be sooner, but
Cool. And Nicole, what about you? Lucky last. Anything exciting?
Yeah, so I actually went vegetarian in February. I decided to go vegetarian for the month. I also did like dry February. I know dry January is usually a thing, but I didn't drink in February either. And I made it. It's now March, so that's great. I made it through. But the best part of it was that I got to try like lots of new recipes. A lot of them were pasta related, but a lot of pasta sauces that were really fun. Like I tried the feta pasta trend, like everybody has. But that was really cool. So I think I might maybe try it again later in the year. But that was quite a fun little thing to do.
Yeah. So you're not going to continue your vegetarian plight? You're going back to meat?
I obviously need to treat myself to like a roast now, right? Like I need to have something substantial. But
so true.
no, it was really fun. Like I must admit, I wasn't completely strict, but I did try my best, and I don't have too much meat anyway, so I could probably stick with it for a bit. But it was good, and like February's the shortest month, right? So that's a good one to try it out with.
That's so sneaky. I love that. Cool, so I'm going to kick the episode off today with some news out of Australia. Surprise, surprise, I'll be covering this one, guys. But Facebook actually blocked Australians from sharing and viewing local and international news content. I don't know if you guys caught this on the web, but basically a few weeks ago, Facebook shut down the ability to read and share news content for all Australian users and publishers. The move was in response to a proposed media bargaining code the government was trying to introduce, which basically would force Facebook to pay publishers to feature their original news content, which is all a bit confusing to me, but I'm sure, someone's following along. But basically, the law was a response to many years of news outlets around the world, not just in Australia, complaining that Google and Facebook and their digital ad businesses have played a role in the decline of journalism. So Google responded by making deals with the Australian news publishers, whereas Facebook just straight up cut them off entirely. So what happened was, like, for about a week, maybe a few days, all the users on Facebook and publications weren't able to share news content on the app, which my dad and a few of my journalism professors were kicking off about online. But unfortunately, a lot of people got caught up in this. It meant that information sources such as emergency services, charities, the government, like health and weather warnings were also caught up in the ban, which meant they couldn't share any sort of important information or resources, which is a little bit tricky. But it's all cleared up now. And Facebook says it's gotten reassurances from the Australian government that it won't be forced to pay publishers, and instead they're given a chance to negotiate agreements with them, which they're already starting to do. So that's good. The news is back, but it was a scary couple of days there for everyone back home. Did you guys catch this at all? What do you think about the disagreement?
I did see a few things about it on Twitter and other places, but it's just crazy how intertwined Facebook and the news has become. Like they're the same thing. So I had been meaning to ask you about it, Chloe, because I didn't really understand what was going on. So thank you for telling me. But that's crazy. I can't believe that was even a thing. Like, just for all of Australia. Like, not just like a little small town. Like, all of Australia didn't have news on their feeds.
I think a spokesperson from the government, one of the quotes that he gave was that, you know, the news and Facebook are quite synonymous, and that, like, it was in fact a disagreement that maybe the government didn't understand just how synonymous that relationship was. But you're so right. I think it was a light bulb moment for people going, oh, like, I really rely on, like, a social media app to gather all this content when, you know, we could just be going online. But no, like, it just shows how much we rely on the one platform, which I think is super crazy.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, for me anyway, I get a lot of my news sources from Facebook. That's sort of how I find out about most things, whether they're that relevant or not, I don't know. But I do think that has become Facebook has become a platform for those sources. So I can't imagine what it would be like to have that cut off. I mean, I would appreciate to not have the clickbait, but yeah, like you say, I think obviously it impacted Australia quite a lot of, like, weather warnings and all the points that you touched upon, Chloe. Like,
well, yeah, I mean, especially in the midst of a pandemic, to have your government health warnings completely just, like, disappear. I mean, Australia's not too bad off when it comes to coronavirus, but I imagine that would be quite, like, oh god.
Yeah.
And I think I was reading that, like, imagine what your newsfeed would, like, if you can visually imagine your Facebook newsfeed right now, and then just remove every and all news stories that, you know, would just generically show up on the feed. Like, what would your newsfeed look like? I mean, it's called a newsfeed, right?
That is so true. That's so true. I've never thought about what it would look like without news articles, because I'm so used to seeing them. Basically, every other like piece of content is news, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, the news breaks up the memes and makes me feel a little bit like I know what's going on, but
yeah, I had a similar experience. I was living in Istanbul once, and there was an army coup. Like, there was a load of riots going on in the streets, so the government shut down all social media, like your way of, like, telling people, because they didn't want people congregating online. So that was, like, so isolating, because you can't, like, social, like, your feed is the way you see, like, have the coups, like, is it stopped? Is it still going on? Are the riots outside? Is it safe or not? Yeah. So to have that completely stripped away, like, I can imagine how sort of isolating it would feel.
Absolutely. Well, while Facebook was at work removing resources from Australian users, Nicole, you have some news about LinkedIn adding some new features for company pages. Am I right?
Yeah, definitely. So I feel like LinkedIn often gets lost, like, out of the conversation with the other platforms. Like, because it's so business centric, people forget about it a bit, and we obviously work with a lot of B2C companies, but LinkedIn is huge for businesses, and all of us will know we have a lot of clients who use LinkedIn regularly. And recently they've really had a big push for employee sort of features and how employees can get more engaged. So there's now a way for, on the LinkedIn page, like a company page, there's a new tab called My Company. So you can go on there and see what other employees have been doing, kind of like a little dashboard for employees. So you can go on there, and obviously you have to be listed as an employee, but you can go on there and see what everyone's up to, which I think is really cool, and definitely something that I'm surprised like isn't already a thing, because at the moment LinkedIn is quite stuck on like the feeds and there's no sort of engagement features. So that would be a really cool thing, you know, just for us guys all going on like the Giraffe LinkedIn page and seeing what everyone's up to and what we're sharing and talking about. So that's a really cool feature that I think is out now, but people don't really know about it. Like, it's hidden. You have to go onto the page and then it's under My Home, I think. So I noticed that recently, which is quite interesting. I don't know, how often do you guys use LinkedIn?
I actually use LinkedIn quite a lot. Like, I go through stages with LinkedIn where I can spend, like every other social platform, ages flicking through it and browsing. But it's funny because LinkedIn actually is a platform that I consider to be, I don't know if secretive is the right word, but there's a lot you can kind of do on it without everyone knowing you're doing it, kind of thing. And I feel like with LinkedIn you're more in control of what people see and do, so adding that element in, I don't know, I mean, I'm very intrigued, but also I'm like, what are people going to see that I'm doing? I mean, I'm not that I'm doing anything apart from liking. I like a lot of things or celebrate a lot of things. But yeah, I think it would be really intriguing to see how it's sort of like updating in that aspect.
I find LinkedIn super intimidating. Like, it's just, it's kind of like Twitter. Like, I'm not on Twitter, but only because I just wouldn't know what to do on Twitter. And the same thing kind of goes for LinkedIn. I set one up at uni, then I kind of just do nothing with it. So it's kind of nice to know that they're introducing more features to kind of help people like me get more involved. Is it so on, say, our company page, we can just see what Nicole's been doing on LinkedIn and what Laura's been doing on LinkedIn, or? Yeah,
I think so. So it's kind of just like a dashboard of recent activities. So for all of us, we'd be able to see like recent things that we posted, what's going on there. And like LinkedIn have a lot of different features for celebrating like employee milestones and stuff. So that's kind of cool that you can see, you know, how long we've all been at Giraffe possibly. And then just for other businesses, like perhaps sort of larger companies with lots of employees, that'll be a really interesting feature, and sort of keeping on tabs of where everybody's at and what people are doing. But I think intimidating is the best word, Chloe. I think LinkedIn can feel really intimidating for people. But I personally love LinkedIn. Like, I'm on it all the time because I think it's really interesting, and you get to get a lot of different content that you don't see on Instagram and Facebook. So it's definitely a great platform to use, especially for businesses. And I think a big problem a lot of businesses have is employee engagement. Like, how can you actually get your employees engaging on LinkedIn? So I think this is probably one of the main features to help combat that. So we'll see what happens. Definitely. I was just about to say that, like, we have a lot of clients who are like, how can we get our employees to like participate in the online fun? So now we have this as the answer. I love it.
I think it's going to be also a really great way to kind of get to reach more content that's probably going to be interesting to an individual. Like, for example, if I can go to a place and see exactly like what social media managers are liking, commenting on, interacting with, it's going to give me more content to look through as well that's interesting to me, because I do find LinkedIn is great for like tailoring content, but ultimately, like, there is still a lot on there that's like, that's not relevant to me, so yeah, I think that's going to be a great way to find that content.
Yeah, exciting. Well, watch this space, everyone. I'm excited to see how that goes. I want to take a brief intermission from all the app updates to talk about one of the foodie campaigns we've seen this month. Ellie, what is the story with Burger King and their moldy burger ad on YouTube?
Yeah, so I don't know if you guys saw it, but it was just like a burger with a plain black background, and you just watch it slowly sort of like get moldy and be all gross. And it's basically just Burger King's way of showing that they're straying away now from preservatives, and they're trying to be a bit more conscious about their ingredients and their foods, and like showing you that, like, you know, it's not plastic sort of thing. I think a lot of people, when they think of like Burger King and McDonald's, it's easy to think of it as being like, a lot of it, you don't think of it being like natural organic ingredients and things like that. So it was their way of sort of showing, you know, it's kind of an opposite with what you think, because you wouldn't normally show your consumers your food at its like most horrible state. But I thought it was a really good, you know, way of expressing like getting their point across. Don't know if any of you guys saw that.
Yeah, I did see it while I was sort of searching up stories. I love the reverse psychology of it, because
exactly,
your first thought is like, ew, like a moldy burger, gross. But then you're like, when the messaging sort of comes up that they're moving away from preservatives and things, I'm like, oh, like that's smart. I see what you did there, Burger King.
Yeah,
so
it stops and gets your attention.
Yeah, and I know some people were kind of iffy about it, but I think it's like, it was a risk, and I think it paid off. I really enjoyed it. What about you guys?
Yeah, I think like one of the key things to any big like marketing campaign is obviously being memorable, and I definitely think a campaign like this is memorable, and you just have that association now with Burger King, not moldy food, but like it just stands out. I think something like that just catches your eye, and when you actually read between the lines and understand what the campaign is, that's when you realise how clever it is.
Definitely.
Yeah, sure. And people are talking about it, so like, even if you're talking about it in a negative way because you didn't like the campaign, you're like, say I didn't like it, I'm still expressing to you guys that like they're straying away from preservatives, so it's still getting their point across. People are still talking about it regardless of their opinion on it. It's powerful.
Super smart. We love that. Well, for those of you who aren't aware, Laura is our mental health champion here at Giraffe. And Laura, you've got some news about Snapchat's new mental health resource, don't you?
I do. So, Snapchat are launching a new feature called Here For You that will basically provide in-app support to Snapchatters who might be experiencing mental health or emotional crisis, or people who want to learn more about those types of issues and how they can support friends and family. So what it will basically be is, when you go to the search feature on Snapchat, there'll be an additional resource, which will be the Here For You. When you go through to that, you can search for example, like anxiety. And what will happen is it will link and list resources that link to that sort of keyword that you've put into Snapchat. I personally think it's a great idea. Particularly, Snapchat users generally obviously sort of a younger generation, and I know from like research that Snapchatters generally tend to be sort of school age, like primary, and I just think it's a great way to get people to start conversation about it, and also another resource for people to turn to when they don't know who else to turn to, because I know, you know, reaching out can be quite difficult, whereas if people can do it within a platform that they feel comfortable on and they use a lot, I just think it will add an additional sort of element to it and be able to help those people that do need it, or like I say, that just want to learn more about how they can support other people as well, which I think is equally important.
That sounds really cool. I think that's great, especially like you're right, Laura, like Snapchat's demographic are a lot younger, so having those resources for them is such a cool idea, and I love that they're doing that.
I think it's really good, like, because it is such a young audience, you might not want to be I mean, I remember when I was young, I searched on Google, like, how to kiss a boy. And then the next person on the computer searched how to something, and kiss a boy came up. And they were like, oh, who's been searching how to kiss a boy? So I think it's good for people so young who are looking up something that can be really scary or still considered quite taboo, have a safe space where they're there every day. You know, Snapchat typically is known for, once you send it, like, there's no record of it. So I think it's a really cool idea that they've opened this safe space for young people who otherwise would maybe be too scared to ask about it or Google it or that kind of thing. So yeah, I love that.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's great. Any brand or company that can sort of help in any way like this, I think they should. And ultimately, like, obviously, social media use and mental health, there's a correlation there as well. So I think it's important that platforms do identify that and do what they can to support and help.
Definitely. Yeah. Speaking of mental health, LinkedIn is looking to play a key role in connecting users to new job opportunities in the gradual COVID-19 recovery. Isn't that right, Nicole?
Yeah, so another LinkedIn thing, guys. I'm sorry, I'm all about the LinkedIn train.
She's the LinkedIn expert.
I am. Yeah, recently they're supposedly developing some new features where it really sort of promotes work for freelancers. So people who have their own sort of pages and services that they're trying to offer, there'd be features on their LinkedIn page where people would be able to see how much their services cost, how to contact them, and just sort of opening those doors a little bit, which, thinking about it, just makes so much sense for LinkedIn. I think it's a really cool idea, especially since a lot of people have really established LinkedIn pages, you know, like as not an influencer, but almost an influencer in their own right. So rather than directing people off the platform, which is often something that the algorithm doesn't like, if LinkedIn can find ways to promote people to come to the platform and share more about the services that they offer, I think that's a really good idea and something that I think could sort of change things quite a lot for LinkedIn. So that's really exciting. So again, watch this space, but it's definitely a really exciting feature that I think could change the game a little. I don't know what you guys think.
I'm becoming a LinkedIn stan. I think this episode is converting me into getting on LinkedIn a little bit more. I really love this idea. I mean, when I'm scrolling through LinkedIn for clients or just at my own leisure, I see a lot of people at the moment posting like openly looking for this kind of role, or hey guys, I recently lost my job due to the pandemic, like if anyone knows anything, like please let me know. And it's really sad to see, like, despite whether they've lost a job in the pandemic or they're just, you know, looking for that dream role. So I think this is it's really nice. I don't know how, like, thank you, LinkedIn.
Yeah, definitely. And it's so within their, like, branding, you know, for people to use the platform in this way, to promote, you know, sort of services that they offer. And I think it's going to be really interesting to see what happens there, especially for businesses as well. And, like, can businesses use this to promote sort of the services and things that they have? How well is it going to work? Like, from my sort of just quick research, it seems more of like an influencer ploy to like have some more like LinkedIn influencers coming in with services and sort of promoting the platform. But can businesses maybe get involved? That would be quite interesting. So I'm glad you're becoming a LinkedIn stan. I think things are changing.
Yeah.
So you've got to get on board. Get on early, guys.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm saying that as if LinkedIn hasn't been around for ages, but it's a good platform.
Yeah, I say that as if like I'm really like a changed person, but come next week I will be intimidated again and off the art. I'm curious though, have you guys ever job hunted or like got a job through LinkedIn? I wonder.
I've had a lot of helpful advice on job hunting through LinkedIn. Like before, when I was trying to move to either different cities or different countries, I would message someone from that place and be like, this is the area I want to go into in this city, like what's your advice, like do you have any contacts? Like it's really great for just like you know, like I could find a company that I really like and find their website and then go on LinkedIn and find the specific like CEO of that company. And a lot of the time people are flattered, so they reply to you. So I don't think I've got a job through LinkedIn, but like I've just had a lot of advice. I've had even like Zoom calls with people who are just contacts that were going to give me advice on finding jobs and things like that. So it's really helpful in that respect.
Yeah, I don't think I've had a job directly through LinkedIn. I'm trying to think, but I have had similar to sort of Ellie, like have been able to reach out to people for in the past, like recruiters or that kind of thing, and said like, I'm looking for this type of role, can you help? And you just find them through that platform, and it's a bit of a closer network than just reaching out to a recruitment agency, say, because that person can sort of just learn more about you through your LinkedIn profile, and like send jobs over to you, that kind of thing. I just think it's great for that, and I know that's what it's kind of there for, and it's a platform for that, and it does succeed in that respect as well. And I think it's great that it has the feature of like you can set your profile up to say, as you mentioned, Chloe, say like you're looking for a type of role or a type of job, because I think it also kind of, particularly during these times that are really tough, it sort of makes people feel not alone in that, and I think that's really great as well, because obviously there's no shame in not having a job, there's no shame in looking for work. So, and like the fact that LinkedIn openly allows you to sort of express that is great.
That's good. Well, speaking of new features, Instagram is currently testing monetization of IGTV videos in their app, and of course I will take this one as well. Resident Instagram addict over here. But I don't know if you guys saw this or heard of this, but basically in an attempt to keep up with TikTok, I imagine, and in response to the lack of popularity of the IGTV feature, Instagram is giving creators a sustainable and hands-off way to generate earnings on IGTV, which is super exciting. The program could potentially work similarly, I think, to Facebook Watch, where video producers earn 55% cut of revenue from ad breaks, which are inserted into the middle of their content. So basically, users who are deemed eligible could earn money by running short ads within their IGTV content. And the feature, I thought IGTV was quite popular when it was first released. I mean, I remember it came out sort of, I can't remember when it came out, but I remember using it quite heavily during lockdown. But apparently only 7 million of Instagram's billion plus users downloaded the standalone IGTV app. And that's even when they sort of inserted the IGTV button directly to the Instagram homepage, which is super interesting. What do you guys think about this whole situation? No thoughts? Okay, cool.
I can say something.
Okay.
I remember when IGTV first came out, and I had like no idea how people were gonna react. So to find out that only 7 million people downloaded the app is like no surprise to me. Because I don't know, did any of you guys download it?
No, I didn't.
No. Chloe, did you?
No, and I don't see, this is the thing with Instagram, right? Because they release like the Boomerang app separately and the IGTV app separately, and I'm like, why? Like it's in the one place, like there's no need. So I guess that's not so surprising. What were you gonna say though before I hijacked?
No, I remember when it first came out and they announced there'll be a separate app for it. I was super confused. Like, was it a YouTube rivalry? Like, the thing with Instagram is they're always just trying to rival everyone, it seems. So this is sort of, a rival with TikTok. Makes sense. But it is quite amusing to me that they just, like, constantly come out with new features to try and take over every single other platform. Like with Snapchat, they obviously had stories, then they had IGTV, now they have Reels. So this is it's so interesting, and Instagram are constantly doing new things, which is really exciting for us. But it also, to me, it's just like they're always trying to overtake everyone, which, you know, fair play. But it's just like trying to keep up with everything feels like a lot, doesn't it?
I think it's interesting. Oh, sorry, Laura. I think it's interesting because, right, they're trying to do this to boost popularity, but in my head as a consumer, like putting ads in between, like in the middle of content, like when YouTube does that, it drives me crazy. I don't mind ads at the beginning of my video, but please don't put them throughout. Like, that's just so annoying. So I guess it's probably going to boost popularity for creators, obviously, because they can earn money from it. But like, if creators are putting out content that no one's watching because of ads, although I'm sure that won't be the case because, you know, we don't stop watching YouTube or regular television. But yeah, I think it's interesting. So late in the game to kind of improve something that's been out for a year or so now.
Yeah, I agree.
Did you have any thoughts?
I think it's really interesting that although it helps or is another way for content creators to make money, it's another way ultimately for the platform to make money. So it's kind of a, don't know how to say it. It kind of contradicts itself in a sense. It's like, we're helping you, but by helping you, we're helping us, kind of thing. And I think, like you say, like when I think about social media and when I first started using it, and like the lack of ads and how now we've just kind of adapted over time to ads, and they don't faze me as much. They don't faze me at all because I'm used to them. It's the same. I say that, but then I do prefer watching like BBC One because there's no ads. But it's the same, like they're just sort of part of our everyday life now, and I think we just get used to them, and that's just another feature of the platform. But I'm the same as you, Nicole. It fascinates me more than anything, like the competition. I always think, you know, what are TikTok HQ thinking about this?
TikTok HQ are just happy that they live rent free in Instagram's mind. Like, that's
true. Yeah.
You just unlocked a memory in me. Do you remember when Snapchat tried to make people pay for the filters? Do you guys remember this?
Yeah,
like I remember when Snapchat first became super popular and everyone was using the filters, they announced that people, like, you're gonna have to pay. I remember it was like 79p per filter. Like, it's so cheap, but they tried to make us pay for that. And everyone was like, no. So I'm so glad that never happened. But you just reminded me, like, talking about how all these platforms are just ultimately trying to make more money, which I understand. But that just unlocked a memory in me. And it just feels like a lifetime ago.
It does. Like,
I'm glad that it did.
Can you imagine paying for a filter? I mean, I know. No.
Like, that's your one and only use, and you're trying to like make me pay for it. I don't think so.
I'm gonna say it right here. I predict that could be a future trend, because on Instagram you can like create filters now, right? And there's people who like promote, oh, look at the filters that I create, use my filters. Like, I'm gonna say it now. I think one day, like, you'll be able to buy a certain celebrity's like filters. I wouldn't be surprised if that's a thing at some point, right? Like, if you could go on Instagram and search Kylie Jenner's filters, people are going to pay for it. So
I was going to say, whatever Kim Kardashian is using on her stories, I need it.
Yeah.
She must be editing outside the app and then uploading, which seems like a lot of work, but her stories, that filter is so good. Yeah. So that's a good point.
Yeah.
Instagram, if you're listening,
you're welcome.
Pitching you.
But also,
you are welcome.
Also, kind of don't
Please
do that.
Don't. Yeah.
I mean, the good news is they took so long to monetize IGTV. Like, we've got years, ladies. We've got years.
That's so true. That's so true.
Right, so I want to wrap up our Newsfeed segment with another really interesting campaign we saw on socials this month. Ellie, what is going on with Weetabix?
I think we all know what's going on with Weetabix at this point. They uploaded that picture. It was a tweet, I think, of like beans on Weetabix, and the caption was like, don't let bread have all the fun. And then like brands just went wild, and I think it was so fun how every like social media manager on a brand was like, I can imagine them all sitting there like, we've got to come up with a tweet to reply to the Weetabix tweet. Like airlines were replying to it, like shopping, like clothing brands were replying, NHS, like everyone was jumping in on it. And like I've noticed a lot more of that recently as well. I don't know if you guys have, but like for instance the rugby match this weekend, there was like a controversial referee decision, and Specsavers tweeted being like, who's this guy and why is everyone trying to book him as Specsavers appointment? Like I love how brands are like jumping in on like kind of the casual conversations that people are having on Twitter now, rather than it being like a formal like look at our brand sort of thing. It's more like a fun playground, and I think Weetabix definitely helped with that.
Ultimately, social media is all about being social. So if brands play such a huge part in being social, and I have to say one of my favorite like tweets to that Weetabix tweet, if you like, was actually, it was someone had retweeted it, and it was obviously a social media manager, because the caption was being a social media manager is explaining to your boyfriend why at 9 p.m. You're like you're putting beans or whatever it was. It was just really I think it was actually the social media the social media manager that had done that Specsavers one, because it was like explaining to your boyfriend why at 9 p.m. you're pouring beans onto a pair of glasses. That's what it was. It was just it just really made me chuckle, because I think it just shows like how reactive like we have to be on social to be able to join in the conversation.
This is so off topic, but I feel like all this like brands sort of commenting on each other kind of originated from Twitter. But I was on TikTok last night, and have you guys seen the Ryanair TUI beef on TikTok?
Yeah.
No.
Nicole, it is insane. This is the actual brands. I had to double take because I thought, surely you can't do this. The actual brands are kind of just bashing each other, just like bad mouthing each other on TikTok. Like for example, there was like a video of maybe a plane crash or like gravestones or something, and then TUI was like, oh, and you're still wondering why Ryanair tickets are so cheap. And then they did another one, like when you see a Ryanair cabin and it's like this really dingy cabin, and then they're like, and then when you finally catch a flight with TUI, and then it's like this beautiful like cabin way. It's so crazy. I don't know how my For You page just started targeting me with this airline beef, but I'm so happy that it did.
I love that. I think it's so cool how brands now are not afraid to interact with each other. Like back in the day, you'd never see Sainsbury's and Asda like referring to each other, right? Like it was so taboo. Whereas now they can tweet each other, they can make jokes because it's beneficial to both of them. So it totally makes sense. And even with like just pop culture, like getting involved in trends and what's relevant is so important, not just for big brands, but for like everyone on social media to get involved in what's actually going on. I know it was the most liked branded tweet. I don't know if it is anymore, but I'm pretty sure Burger King had a tweet about Kanye West because he said something about McDonald's, and then they replied and was like, ha, makes sense, like that McDonald's is his favorite. And that was like the most liked branded tweet ever, at least it was last year. And it's just things like that people want to engage with and that will find fun. So I think we can all agree, like to everyone listening, like try and engage as much as you can with pop culture, with different brands, because the likelihood is it's going to be more fun and hopefully you'll get more engagements. You may even go viral. Who knows? Who knows,
right? I know Laura is very good at this. I know one of her clients, she did it with Bernie Sanders and with the Mars rover landing. I won't name the client, but she is great at creating memes for them, and I thoroughly enjoy watching them and giving them a like. So there you go.
Thank you.
All right, guys, now it's time for the calendar update, the segment at the end of each monthly review, which highlights some of the key dates for the month ahead. Laura, you've got some upcoming holidays you like to share with us, don't you?
I do. So today is actually Compliment Day, so I'm going to pay you all a compliment today and tell you you're amazing.
Oh,
so
thank you.
That's one to bear in mind for next year as well. So March the 3rd is World Wildlife Day. Love this. Big fan of wildlife, so if it's relevant, hop on it. March the 4th is World Snack Day. Again, what a winner. I mean, as if we didn't need more excuse to have a snack. World Snack Day. 8th is International Women's Day. Again, what a good day. Big up women. 21st is Twitter's 15th birthday. And wow. I don't know about you, but I already think time flies. So the fact that Twitter is 15 years old, I don't know. 24th of March is National Cocktail Day. I mean, again, what a good day. So we're in for some good ones in March, I would say. These are really
What a good month.
What a good month. Yeah, let's hop on some of these and have a good March.
So the 24th of March, we're all having a cocktail podcast episode, right? That's what's happening here. That's fine with me.
No-brainer.
Yeah.
We can change our coffee break to a cocktail hour.
To a cocktail break.
Yes, happy hour, guys.
I think we should.
Yeah.
My final question for you all before we round off this episode is, what are your social media predictions for the month of March? Nicole, why don't you start us off?
Mine's probably quite an obvious one, but with Mother's Day coming up, I think all of our feeds are going to be flooded with competitions, and anyone who has listened to the podcast before will know that I love social media competitions. So I'm getting geared up, guys. I'm ready for all the competitions to come in. All of you will be tagged in the comments. I'm sorry, but I'm eager to win. But yeah, definitely, I think lots of competitions will be coming our way with all the big brands, and also just in general for a lot of people, it's a good time to get a social media competition running. So as well as it being exciting from my end, for everyone listening, you know, make sure you've got a competition coming up, because it's a really good time to maybe boost your following a little bit, get some new followers, and just get your brand out there to some new people. So that's probably my prediction for the month.
Mine's kind of similar. I know Laura just mentioned it for you all, but International Women's Day is coming up, and that's always quite a big one on the social calendar. Not just for like smaller brands who want to celebrate the women in their company, but also I know a lot of bigger brands launch quite large scale campaigns, which is always really inspiring to watch and see. So I think a lot of womenly content will be on the horizon. Anyone else?
Yeah, so I think carrying on from February, I think we're going to continue seeing the whole conversation about the roadmap out of lockdown and those stages. Don't know about anyone else, but I've seen loads of memes, and I've seen brands again jump on those memes. So I think we're still in for seeing a lot of content around that. I still think, you know, it's relatable. We're all going through it. It's the kind of stuff we want to see. So I think that's still going to continue this month.
For the first time in a long time, I saw a summer holiday advert. I saw Jet2 holidays on TV. It was an advert about booking your summer holidays, which felt so wrong, but it was crazy. Yeah, it was crazy.
I think brands are going to be, I already mentioned the whole capitalizing on events like the rugby and things like that. But because there isn't as much going on, I think brands sometimes are struggling with things to tweet about and to talk about online. So, like you were saying with the interacting with each other on TikTok for airline brands, we'll just see a lot more of that where people have more time to think of funny things to go and interact with and stuff. There's a lot more of a sense of community now, with the lockdown, everyone's going through the same motion. So continuing to see that, I think.
Yeah, I'm quite happy to see a lot more than that. That just is, for some reason, really wholesome content. I live for it. Amazing. Well, that's all we've got time for today. Thank you so much for listening. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss our next episode. You can also connect with us on all major social channels and let us know what you thought about any of the topics we discussed today. As always, we want to hear what your social media highlight was from the month of February, so be sure to let us know. We've been Giraffe Social Media. You've been amazing. We'll see you next time. Skirt, skirt.